Hello, and welcome to our class today on the long E and short I vowel sounds. As many or most of you know, my name is Jennifer Tarle, and I am the owner of Tarle Speech and Language Services. We do many things, but one of our specialty areas is focusing on pronunciation in terms of sounds, word stress, and intonation. So we like to offer these free classes every once in a while. They're quick, short, half-hour classes to kind of get you started. If you do need more help with what we're learning about today, at the end of the presentation, which will be posted to my website later in the week, I will have handouts, and on the handouts at the end, I will talk about where you can get more help through my products, which I have on my website. So let's go ahead and get started. Let me share my presentation with you. Okay, so again, tonight we are going to be talking about the long E and short I sounds. Basic housekeeping, if you have any questions, please post them in the comment section on the YouTube page. You can also send me questions through my website, which is www.tarlespeech.com. You can find a link there to send me a question. And you can also ask questions throughout this presentation through the chat feature. Handouts will be available on my website. I will post the link to it here underneath the video as soon as those are ready. And you can go ahead and download those. If you like what you see tonight, please share it with a friend. We do appreciate that. Okay, so our agenda, real quick agenda, we're going to go through the top ESL American English vowel sound mistakes that I see. Long E and short I. How do we read this sound? How do we spell this sound? And how do we pronounce this sound? And then last and not least, we are going to go through practice everybody's favorite. Okay, so what are the top ESL vowel errors that I see? I tend to look at sound mistakes through patterns. And the big patterns that I see are sound mistakes with open vowels. My clients typically do not say the short A sound in cat after or match. And they also miss the short O sound, the aw sound in bought, caught, and coffee. Typically what I hear people say is the short sound. So instead of cat or caught, my clients would say cut. Vowels are so extremely important because vowels really help when we start talking about word stress and intonation. Vowel length varies greatly in English, so working on your vowels will really make a huge difference. The topic for today is going to be similar vowels, the long E and short I sound. I would say this is probably the #1 mistake that I work on with my clients, and I've worked on this with almost every single one of my clients over the course of my career. So that's a pretty consistent mistake. And my clients would confuse the words eat and it. Eat it, eat it. So I hear those being confused a lot. So those are the topics we're going to talk about tonight. I also hear mistakes with R vowels, the short or the long R sound, earn, sir, fur, fire, for, and far. Movement vowels, again, these tend to be very long. English has long and short vowels. I hear these vowels being shortened because people tend to not move their mouth when they say these vowels, and these vowels are a combination of two vowels together. So for the long O, long I, and long A, and those are in words such as open, I, Abe. The mistake that most of my clients tend to really understand on this one is that most of my clients will say no instead of no. So that's a big difference there that you can hear. And then the short vowel, we also talk about this short vowel in the intonation and word stress class, and focusing on the schwa vowel, which is the unstressed version of this. And we have this as syllables in words. So that is important to learn how to say that. Okay, I'm trying to go to the next page and I cannot. There we go. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead then and talk about the long E and the short I sound. Who makes this mistake? As I said, most of my clients that I've ever worked with have made this mistake, and I shouldn't have taken my screen share down because check this out. These are the speakers that make a mistake with the long E sound or the short I sound. As you can see, lots of different languages make mistakes with these sounds. And again, if you don't see your language on here, that doesn't necessarily mean you don't make this mistake. So really pay attention to this. Common mistakes that I hear, I will hear instead of the long E sound, I will hear my clients say the short I sound. So they will say chip instead of cheap, or itch instead of each. I also hear people say the short E sound, which is the F sound, and people will say set, not seat, or etch, not each. So where this gets super confusing is if you look at that short I sound mistake column. The biggest mistake that I see is that people confuse the long E, they use the short I, and they'll also, instead of the short I, say the long E. So it's essentially not knowing which sound to use and when. So instead of the short I rather, people will say the long E, beat, not bit, eat, not it. And then also I think I will also hear some of the short E sound because people are trying to make that sound shorter, but they're not getting 100% correct. And so I hear etch instead of itch and set instead of sit. Reading is always really a struggle for my foreign clients. It's not that you don't know how to read and you're not a fluent reader. It's that spelling in English oftentimes is very, very confusing. And so this is a great example. So when we are reading the letter E, we typically read it as two different sounds, either the long E or the short E sound. So the short E would be in the word them, set, pet. And the long E, which is the letter name, essentially, we hear that in meet, seat, and Pete. The I is typically read as the long I or the short I sound. So the short I sound is in miss, sit, and in. And the long I, again, the letter name, is read as I, like, and pie. If you want a little more information on reading and spelling, I do have a lot of articles on my site. You can check those out on reading and spelling. Those are on my blog, and those tend to be fairly helpful to my clients. So what about spelling? How do we spell this sound? So again, reading, whoops, sorry everybody. Reading is very different than speaking. So reading are letters, speaking are sounds. So let's think about that again. So reading are the letters, speaking are the sounds. So if you were to look at a word that is spelled R-E-A-D, you might think there are 4 sounds in that word. That is not the case. There are only 3 sounds in that word when we pronounce the word. So 4 letters, R-E-A-D, 3 sounds, R-E-D, read. So 3 sounds and 4 letters. That gets very confusing. One of my clients said to me, oh, I saw the word read and I thought that I had to say an E and an A, which made that vowel long. And that's not the case. The sound is E, that long E sound. Okay, so here we are again. If you look at how we spell these sounds, the short I sound is pretty straightforward. Typically, it's spelled with the letter I. And so we see that in the word bin, winner, and rich. In American English only, we do have an exception. We actually pronounce the word bin, B-E-E-N, with the short I, bin. This is very different than the word bean, which is spelled B-E-A-N. So bean has the long E sound and bin has the short I sound. And again, this is American English only. Most other English dialects will say bean for B-E-E-N. The long E sound is spelled many different ways. It's spelled E as in ego, Y as in any, E-E as in eel, E-A as in east, E-O as in people, E-I as in receive, E-Y as in money, I-E as in relieve, and then E consonant E, that's the silent E rule. Again, to get more information on that, check out my website. And the word Eve, and then the I in mini. This word is very confusing for most of my clients because we have the short I and the long E sounds, but they're both spelled with the letter I. So how do we pronounce the long E sound? So take a look at this, and then I'm going to put my face on the screen again so that you can see my mouth. I'm going to be looking off screen because that's where my presentation is, just to make sure I'm reading exactly how I have it written so I don't confuse you. So for the E sound, in America, we say cheese when we get our picture taken. And the reason is that we have that long E sound, cheese. So we smile when we say the sound. So I describe this sound as smiling. It's smiling lips, and your lips are tense. E. For most people, this is all that you need to think about, is that you need to smile, because our mouth, when we have our lips and our jaw in certain shapes, our tongue can only go into so many places. So for most people, just fixing your lips, it's going to fix your issues you're having with this sound. Now, keep in mind, if you're still struggling, think about what your tongue is doing. And in this case, your tongue tip is near the front of your mouth, near your front teeth, but it is not touching your front teeth. So if this is the tip of your tongue, which is this part, it is going to be high in your mouth behind your top front teeth. Do not touch your teeth. And the entire tongue will be flat and high in your mouth. E. Try that. E. You can hold that vowel for a really long time, and the length is long. The other thing I like to think about is saying E by holding, pushing, placing your hand on your shoulder and keeping that sound going the whole way down your arm. So let's go ahead and look at this again so you can see this. So again, smiling lips, tense lips. Tongue tip is in the front of your mouth behind the top front teeth. Do not touch your teeth, and the entire tongue is flat and near the roof of the mouth, and the sound is long. Contrast this with the short I sound. The short I sound, your lips are smiling but relaxed. And actually, I think I'm going to change this when I post the presentation. Your lips are in more of a smirk. They're not really smiling. The tongue tip is in front of the mouth between the top front and bottom front teeth, and you'll see this in a second. Do not touch your teeth, and the length is short. Okay, so let me demonstrate for you. So this is E, E, this is I. They can look very similar, especially when someone is in a conversation saying words quickly. So again, let's look. E, I. E, I. So when I bring my lips into that little relaxed sort of a smirk, they're tense and wide smiling here. E, relaxed and sort of a smirk. I. E, I. So that is the big difference with your lips. Because your mouth is a little more open, your tongue has a little more space, so it can go ahead and move down, and the tip of your tongue will be between your top and your bottom teeth. So E for the long E, I for the short I sound. Visually, let's look at the lengths together. E, I. E, I. E, I. So you can really hear the difference, long versus short. And let's bring up the screen again so that you can go ahead and read those directions. And again, I'm going to change that lips to clarify it just a little tiny bit more, because I really wouldn't call it smiling. I should have changed that. Great, so let's do some simple practice. First, I'm going to go ahead and read these words for you without anything on the screen. So just watch and listen. Eat, each, easy. This is for the long E. I'm going to continue with that. Teach, street, seat, sheet rather. Free, we, every. And a sentence. Even if she is going to read the story, he is not. Even if she is going to read the story, he is not. Now let's listen to the contrast of that, the short I. Is it if him list dinner? Good news, there is never a short I sound at the end of a word, so that's just one less thing that you have to practice. And here we are in a sentence. List the information in the grid. List the information in the grid. Okay, so let me bring up the screen so you can see everything with me. All right, so now just repeat after me. Eat, each, easy. And go ahead and try that on your own. Repeat after me. Teach, street, sheet. And try those on your own. Repeat after me. Free, we, every. And try them on your own. And now the sentence. I will say the sentence 2 times and then you can repeat. Even if she is going to read the story, he is not. Even if she is going to read the story, he is not. Go ahead and try it. Now try that sentence one more time. How did you do? Did you make your E long enough? Were your lips smiling? Okay, now let's move on to the short I sound. Repeat after me. Is, it, if. And try those on your own. Now repeat after me. Him, list, dinner. And now on your own. And a sentence, again, I'll say it twice and then you try it. List the information in the grid. List the information in the grid. Give it a try. Okay, now go ahead and try the sentence again by yourself. How did you do? Was your mouth sort of in that smirk stage with a slight smile with your mouth slightly open? And were your lips relaxed? Did you make that vowel short? Now this isn't on my handouts, but let's give this a try. Let's try to say the word eat with the long E, eat. Now try to say the short I sound in it. And let's put those together. Eat it. And let's do another one. Let's try the word each, E-A-C-H, each. And let's do that same with a contrast with the short I, itch, I-T-C-H. Like you have to scratch your arm, itch. And let's contrast those at the same time, each, itch. Okay, that's a great exercise to try contrasting some words. That's pretty helpful to make sure that you are actually saying that sound correctly. You want to make sure that they sound different. All right, now we're going to go on to some advanced practice. And this is great, even if you don't think that you really 100% have this down yet. Push yourself a little bit and try it since we're here together. Going to ask some questions and then read a paragraph. So I will ask the question, then you try the question. I will answer the question, and then you try to answer the question. Try to talk out loud to yourself if you are by yourself and you can. And also, I like to mention that these paragraphs and sentences don't make the most sense because I was trying to stack them with the short I and the long E sound. And I like to just talk about that up front because sometimes I get comments that my paragraphs don't make sense, and you are absolutely correct. They do not make the most sense at all, but they're great for practicing. Okay, let's try the first question. I will say it and then you take a turn. Which sport is your favorite? Speed racing or cricket? Your turn. Now answer the question. My favorite sport is. Let's go on to question 2. Is it easier to speak or read English? Give it a try. And then try the answer on your own. It is easier to. And question number 3. What is your best idea for personal improvement? My best idea for personal improvement is. Okay, how'd you do? Were your E's and I's different? Or the E's long and the I's short? Okay, now let's move on to the paragraph. I'll read it and then you take a turn. Tim and Mary prefer reading to watching TV. They feel that it fits better into their schedule. On the weekends, they read reviews, opinion pieces, and creative blogs. They are interested in new ideas and immerse themselves in original topics. Money is important for funding their reading. Tim and Mary read about investing, saving, and retaining their money. Tim and Mary say reading is important and increases their intelligence. They recommend that you read to increase your reading skills and speaking vocabulary. Okay, give it a try. Okay, how'd you do? I'm sure you did a fantastic job. Just always remember, do a little bit of self-reflection and think about, was my long E long enough? Was my short I short enough? And was my mouth very tense and smiling for the E? And was it more relaxed and more in a smirk position for that short I sound? So how do I do this? I kind of wrap up most of my presentations with this. It's all sort of the same process. You first need to learn to hear the difference. Listen to a native speaker saying your target sounds in words and sentences, and learn to discriminate between the American sound and your errored sound. And in this case, learn to differentiate the long E and the short I. Then you move on to sound production. Learn how to say the new sound in words, sentences, reading, and then in conversations. And of course, practice, practice, practice. Practice every day if you can, even if it's only for a few minutes a day. That's going to make a big difference. With these suggestions in mind, I have come up with some products per the recommendations of many of my clients that have audio video, and written lists for practice. They also come with directions. Those are available on my website if you need some more practice with these. Practice tips: listen, listen, listen. I cannot stress listening enough. I think this is an often overlooked skill. You can listen to words, you can listen to American TV shows, to podcasts. I love the website Breaking News English. They have a lot of recordings about different current event news stories. It's fantastic. Just listen for the rhythm and the sounds of English. Keep a list of words that you use with the long E and short I sound and practice those. Words that you use the most, that you master early on, are going to help you make progress with other words. So really try to be proactive with that and come up with lists. Start small, think big. Practice your words, then reading out loud, then talking with a friend. Short bursts of practice are great. Not only are you learning to think about something in a new way, but you're trying to retrain your mouth to say sounds in a different way. Your mouth's going to get fatigued and you're going to start making mistakes. We don't want mistakes. Practice perfectly, and then you will get a great outcome. Another great tip: look away from the printed word to engage your muscle memory. We talked about this at the beginning of the class. A lot of times spelling really confuses people. And so if you look at the word, get it in your brain, this is the word I'm going to say it out loud without looking at it, you're going to get less interference from that spelling and from that reading that is so strong. Correct a friend to work on your listening skills, get coaching, and focus on the sound that you are practicing. Also, if you live in America, give people permission to go ahead and tell you if you're saying something incorrectly, especially someone that you trust at work or a friend. It's really helpful because you will have mistakes that you're not even aware of. If you need additional information, I've listed on here where you can get some information on more spelling rules from my website. I've listed here my free pronunciation videos. I'm happy to report that we have a slew of new videos. We're going to be posting 2 a month now, at the beginning and the middle of each month. They're on YouTube and on my website. You can stay up to date on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and iTunes. I have the podcast on there, which are all the videos from YouTube that come straight to your iPhone. And if you need additional practice, go ahead and check out my website for the long E and short I sound packages. Thank you so much for being here today. I greatly appreciate your time and all of your questions, and just for supporting my channel and my website and my company. Thank you so much. If you like what you see, the biggest compliment that you could give to us is sharing this with a friend. So please share this with a friend and let them know about us as well. We love to hear your questions, so keep those coming. Thank you again so much. And also send me your ideas for additional classes or articles. I am happy to address all of those. Best of luck on your pronunciation journey, and I hope to see you again back here soon. Bye-bye. Thank you.